They told you the relationship was over and the chapter closed. They told you Italy was just noise and a staged photo op. But here's the snapback. Within 4 days of a confirmed split, Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry were back in the same frame on the water in Italy, with date stamp receipts that changed the entire reading of what happened next. July 3rd and 4th brought the rep statement. July 7th brought those yacht shots off the coast. And July 9th brought a rare family post that put the Amalfi sky right into the narrative. If you only watched the headlines, you saw a breakup, then a montage of glossy vacation photos and tense lunch faces, and maybe a whisper about a mystery brunette in a Venetian water taxi. If you watch the timeline, you see a calculated, almost ruthless clarity about message, rhythm, and optics. This isn't a random rebound or tabloid chaos. This is two global names resetting the story under the brightest sun on Earth and daring the cameras to get the angle wrong. Start with the split. The statement from their reps didn't throw shade, didn't point fingers, and didn't play the blame game. It framed the future, co-parenting with love, stability, and mutual respect. That is not how you talk if you plan to vanish into parallel lives and wave from opposite hemispheres. That is how you talk if you know you will be seen together, a lot, and you want the first sentence of every caption to carry the words you chose. Now jump to Italy, not a tucked-away vineyard or a low-key chalet. Italy in July is Longland's paradise, a place where a yacht wake is a press release and a walk to lunch is a push alert. They didn't hide. They stepped onto decks and docks where you can't miss them. Pick any still from that weekend and you get a story beat. The coastline, the boat, the family rhythm, the quiet distance, the shared smile, the way a 4-day gap from statement to sighting feels less like coincidence and more like choreography. And then there's the post. Orlando's July 9th family photo doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It just sits in the carousel like a calm, steadying hand. People forget that posting isn't just communication, it's framing. A post is a pause on the rumor treadmill. A post is a reminder that the narrative belongs to the person who labels the photo before your timeline does. In 3 seconds, that picture tells you what they want you to know. The family is still a family, even if the romance is not. So what exactly was the reunion? Here's the simplest read that also happens to be the most explosive for gossip logic. It was a co-parenting summit in plain sight, dressed in Mediterranean blue to make every outlet run the same first sentence. Yes, they're apart, and yes, they're together for their child. That line carries a power most celebrity breakups do not achieve in a year, let alone a week. It makes the paparazzi useful. It converts noise into a billboard. Of course, the internet tried another angle. A tense lunch photo hit, and people zoomed into eyebrows and elbows like they were studying a Zapruder film. Tension sells, but tension in a single freeze frame is like weather in a single minute. The point isn't whether the conversation looked fun. The point is that they had the conversation in public, knowing the lens was right there. When you let the camera watch the uncomfortable part, you signal that there's nothing you fear about the story you're telling. Then came the so-called mystery brunette from Venice. That clip moved fast because it implied a brand new plot twist for Orlando. But receipts wreck lazy narratives. The woman wasn't a secret fling. She was Jamie Mizrahi, Katy's longtime stylist, part of her inner circle, a professional known inside that world. That detail flips the table because it erases the jealousy bait and replaces it with a detail about inner circle overlap. The other woman frame evaporates when the other woman is someone the hero texts about fittings. Here's the mid-video reveal you didn't get in the first wave of coverage. The Italy weekend sits on top of a larger calendar shaped by other powerful people in other powerful rooms. Venice was swarming with A-listers for a billionaire wedding seen the week before. Those waters were already saturated with cameras and boats and watchful eyes. If you wanted to be seen, you'd be seen. If you wanted to reset what together means after a split, you would use that same route and that same sea. Zoom out. Call it PR if you want, but the strategic clarity is something else. It's boundaries rendered as postcards. It's two adults with a shared child choosing a high-visibility stage to make the future visible. In that frame, the hero isn't the romance. The hero is the definition. The villain is the rumor machine that tried to turn a family day into a scandal and got caught recycling the same 3 frames until the caption ran out of verbs. But the story didn't end on the water. Fast forward to late August, when Katy appeared virtually in a courtroom tied to a long-running real estate fight. She didn't drag Orlando. She didn't dodge him. She called him family for life. That is a line you do not throw around in front of lawyers, unless you mean it. It lands like a judge's gavel on the Italy footage. It tells you the weekend wasn't a glitch or a fluke. It was consistent with the way they intend to live their lives in public. there were other headlines in the mix: whispers, dinners, cameos at concerts, and sudden narratives that lit the discourse like a match in dry grass. But even those rumors boomerang back to the same point. If you build your public story on receipts and dates, then any new chapter has to pass through the same toll gate. Was it on the record? Or was it just a vibe? Was it a camera with metadata? Or was it a thread with wishful thinking? Let's talk motive, because that's where this gets cold and sharp. Why choose Italy? Because a reunion shot in a parking garage feels like a leak. A reunion set against Amalfi light feels like authority. Why let the tense lunch run? Because withholding the rough moments invites fantasy. Showing them collapses the space where fan fiction tries to live. Why post the family photo? Because even a tiny square from the right account outvotes 100 sidelines. Another detail that deserves more attention: the kids. When you see Daisy on shoulders, when you see the blended family angle, the message is underlined twice. This isn't, will they, won't they? This is, we already know what we have to be for them. That is the kind of gravity that pulls a celebrity story out of the usual orbit and into something most people understand without reading a tablet at all. If you want a power move reading, consider this. A week like that steals back future headlines. The next time someone tries to bait them with, "Why were you together?" the answer is already a montage with a date stamp. The next time someone tries to float a triangle, they have to explain the stylist reveal. The next time a courtroom line needs context, family for life is right there waiting, steady as a metronome. And yes, there's always the question everyone asks: are they back together? The receipts say something more interesting than a yes or no. They say the romantic question is not the headline they want to feed. They say the operational question, how to be a family with cameras always rolling, is the one they answered in a week with clean choreography and brutal consistency. It's the kind of answer that makes the rumor machine look clumsy. In this space, heroes are the ones who choose clarity when chaos would be easier clicks. Katie choosing the courtroom line is clarity. Orlando choosing the family post is clarity. The villain is the cottage industry that clipped 3 seconds of lunch video and tried to write a whole novel. You can sell that for a day. You can't sell it for a month against dates, names, and places that don't move. There's also a production lesson for anyone watching how celebrity narratives get built. Step 1. Make the first proof impossible to ignore. Step 2. Follow it with a self-published frame that confirms what you want the wider frame to be. Step 3. Let a small imperfection in, because polishing everything looks fake. That's not romance, that's narrative engineering. And it worked. By the time August rolled around, the Italy weekend felt less like a surprise and more like a mission statement. We will appear together when it matters. We will define what that means. We will not leave you empty space to invent our motives. If you're looking for a romantic cliffhanger, go binge a different show. If you're looking for a grown-up story with fixed coordinates and a child at the center, that's the one we're telling. So what's next? Probably not a hard launch, probably not a leak, probably more of the same. Quiet coordination, visible when it needs to be, quiet when it doesn't. Maybe there will be new names in the margins later, or maybe not. But the core message won't change, because it doesn't need to. When your receipts stack in a clean line, you don't tear them up for entertainment. If you felt whiplash from Split to Italy, you were supposed to. That whiplash forced a choice: believe the breakup as chaos, or believe the breakup as architecture. The second one fits the facts better. It respects the audience more. It respects the child most. And it's why this story didn't just trend for a day. It kept threading back into the feed every time a new angle tried to hijack it. In the end, the rumor machine loses because it can't outlast receipts. It tried to make a villain out of a vacation, a third act out of a stylist, a scandal out of a picture that just wanted to say, we're still a family. The machine aimed to destroy the hero with noise, and in the process destroyed itself with its own echo. So keep the dates straight. July 3rd and 4th, confirmed split and co-parenting mission. July 7th, Italy sightings that set the tone. July 9th, the family post that sealed it. Late August, family for life, said where words carry weight. That's not a soap opera, that's a plan. And in this story, that plan is the power move that ends the argument before it even starts. And if you came here for drama, you still got it, just not the kind that melts down in DMs. You got strategic drama, public-facing truth, and a timeline that holds up under bright light. That's why this reunion matters, more than a headline. It wasn't a secret, it wasn't a stunt. It was a message in capital letters, spelled by Sun, C, and the oldest trick in the media playbook, show don't tell. When a breakup tries to turn two people into opponents, it's the simplest act to play along. They didn't. They wrote a new part, and by the last frame of the story, the only thing left to say is the same thing Italy said back to the cameras. look all you want. The picture won't change. The villain aimed to destroy the hero, but ultimately destroy themselves.